From the inner city to the remotest part of the nation, Australia's contemporary Aboriginal art movement is on the move. A new exhibition in Sydney is showcasing its richness and diversity. Curated by Hetti Perkins, the daughter of the late activist Charlie Perkins, the exhibition aims to engage mainstream Australia with Indigenous cultural heritage. The artists behind the works will also feature in a new ABC documentary filmed by Samson and Delilah director Warwick Thornton. Connor Duffy reports.
The wonderful thing is that the diversity, you know, some artists are making very contemporary interpretations of stories that are, you know, a millennia old. You know, it's the ancestors' stories.
Deep in the New South Wales Art Gallery is one of the biggest and most varied collection of Aboriginal works ever assembled. Paintings and sculptures from north and south, east and west, city and country are all on show, painstakingly put together by curator Hetti Perkins.
Well, it was quite big. I mean, it was a pretty exponential learning curve for me. But it's something that really came out of the expressed wishes of artists in travelling around and having these wonderful privileges to visit people in their communities, whether they be in, you know, a studio in inner city Brisbane or, you know, out in a remote area outstation. Many of our artists live lives as young men and women, completely separated from the rest of Australia.
This exhibition came out of a new ABC documentary written by Hetti Perkins and filmed by the director of the award-winning movie Samson and Delilah.
Torres Strait Islander art and culture.
Hetti, you know, to give her absolute respect, has this incredible knowledge about art and artists. And it's interesting because the nuts and bolts of filmmaking is taking a back seat to her knowledge.
Peti Perkins is the daughter of the late Indigenous activist Charlie Perkins, who was the first Aboriginal university graduate. Charlie Perkins helped lead a famous freedom ride through regional New South Wales in 1965. That ride saw bans lifted on Aborigines using local swimming pools and RSLs, and Hetti Perkins wants to continue her father's advocacy.
But I think one of the things that he sort of told me and my siblings was that, you know, if you get a chance to speak for your people, you do it. But it wasn't always like this. Following a time of great drought, Pintabee people, including
one of the key themes in the documentary is the connection of Aboriginal people to their home country. In particular, it explores the forced relocation of Aborigines living in the Western Desert in the Northern Territory
into white society, and all too quickly they became refugees. For many years they were in fact exiled from their home, you know, living in Papunya, this government sort of assimilationist outpost, and the way that for them art became a way of maintaining that connection to their country, you know, hundreds of kilometres to the west.
City artists also feature, including Richard Bell from Brisbane, a self-proclaimed troublemaker.
Name the last art movement started by curators.
You see, you wouldn't know because we're such shy, unassuming people. But unlike some artists, we don't put ourselves forward, Richard. We just stay quiet in the background.
Richard Bell has been painting works since a chance encounter with another artist in the 1980s.
I was making tourist art at the time. He said, why did you get into fine art? I said, what are you talking about? Look at these fine lines here, mate. And of course he laughed. He said, no, I mean fine art. And he said, you know, like high art. And he said, I said, well, what do you mean by that? And he said, oh, you know, stuff in the galleries and that. And I said, oh, man, turn it up.
Despite that, he's been producing feisty displays that blend the political and the traditional ever since. He hopes the exhibition will generate attention and interest in Aboriginal art, which he believes is often neglected.
Well, I just hope that the artists and the artwork don't just become relics, you know, like of you know, the longest surviving civilization this planet's known. And I would have thought that that's something really, really valuable.
Peti Perkins is more optimistic about the future and is impressed by the new wave of Aboriginal artists making their name across the country.
It's looking pretty good for the future. You know, the children, the younger artists that are coming through, you know, it's all very exciting and you know, it's really, I feel very fortunate to have been part of this particular era of Indigenous art, and I think that it bodes really well for my children and, you know, their children, that this, you know, this wonderful tradition will continue.
And you can see the documentary Art and Soul on ABC 1 on October 7. Connor Duffy reporting there.